welcome back. We are here at Partner Live and for the inaugural Gen AI Live. And our very first guest, our very first partner, couldn't be better. We are live with Anthropic. Woohoo! Your host today is myself, Rory Richardson. I run go-to-market for Amazon Q Developer, and I am joined by my co-host, Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian Terry, and I'm a senior solution architect focusing on partners that have generative AI solutions.
And our very special guest host, Julia.
Thank you so much. I'm Julia Chen. I run Partner Core, so that's all of our partner programs, our partner strategic collaboration agreements, enablement, digital interface, and a lot of initiatives that help our partners out. So I'm thrilled to be here.
And we have our honored special guest, Jason from Anthropic. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jason Clinton. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Anthropic. And I've been there for about 20 months. It's been a wild ride. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or something with this AI
Something's
thing.
happening there, yeah.
No, I've got nothing. All right, so let's kick things off. Julia, you're going to kick us off with the first question.
Absolutely. So AWS just said Anthropic is our best model provider, and you also won Partner of the Year, one of our Partner of the Year awards last night. Yeah, so how are you feeling about all that?
It's pretty amazing. AWS has been an amazing partner. Yesterday we announced confidential computing with Chris Betts on stage, which was a great moment. This is an amazing partnership, and Amazon has been an amazing partner in that we've been able to develop some of the most powerful models and get them to customers on the most secure platform in the cloud. You know, one of the things that makes using AWS so compelling is that AWS is the one environment right now where you can be 100% guaranteed that your prompts and completions never leave the computing environment. So that's a very important thing for customers as they're thinking about adopting AI and what happens to their data. And AWS is providing that guarantee. Anthropic never has access to customer data. AWS is the technology and platform provider. So that works out really well for customers.
So it's like you won the Super Bowl and you're going to Disneyland?
Yeah.
I
guess so.
Or is this just like, it's just, I mean, we're Anthropic, so like it's a day that ends in Y, so we're good.
I think, one of the things that's been amazing about, being at the frontier is that every time that we have an opportunity to get in front of a customer and talk about AI, and whether it's with Amazon's partners and their customers or our own customers, they're super excited about what's happening right now, and they just want to make sure that they're on that exponential curve and that adoption curve. And we're happy to be here and happy to provide that service.
That's awesome. What do they worry about? Like, do customers, I mean, you're a CISO, right? So,
AKA the Office of No.
Try not to be the Office of No. That is a challenge, but it is a challenge, right? So there's so much that's going on right now in terms of like adoption. I think a lot of folks who are listening to this might be thinking, oh, chatbots, I've tried a chatbot. That's what's going on right now. That is not what's going on right now. We've moved past chatbots. We're into agents now. And
what's the difference between a chatbot and an agent?
So a chatbot, so you open a window and you talk to the thing and it sort of answers your question. There's still some of that going on. So like an enterprise adoption, you might have a customer service use case. So that's obvious. There are also cases where you just want to engage with the enterprise environment and have all of the documents of your company come together and help enable your workforce to be more productive and engaged with the mission of your company. So those chatbot cases still exist.
Yes.
But what's increasingly happening right now, and this is what customers are worried about, I think, is that we are moving to a world where agents are becoming the preeminent and the emerging area where we're adopting. And an agent is a thing where you ask it to do a task, and it reaches into all of those documents. It reaches into databases. It looks into APIs and does the work that the customer is looking for to get achieved.
Yes.
And it comes back, and after some time has spent working on that problem. It's sort of like asking it to do work and then coming back later. And as we move forward into 2025, what we're going to see is you're going to ask an agent to do work for hours or days, and it's going to come back after it's finished doing all of that work and give you the full final finished product, which is an amazing change. You could think of like, an entry-level person at a company now has a team of interns that they can just task to do anything and then get that work coming back to them.
Yes,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's a scary thought for some people, right?
It is, yeah. Yep. So the challenges there are if the agent is acting on behalf of the person, who is the actor?
Yes.
Who is the person who's accessing all these docs and these databases and these APIs, right? Is it the agent?
Yes.
Or is it the person?
Yes.
Or is it some combination of the two? Do we need to record in every system that there was an agent and a person involved in all of the work that they're doing? There's so many hypotheticals I could
Right.
walk out here, but you can get the idea. It starts to raise some concerns.
Right. And permissions, right, which is what are they supposed to have access to versus not. Yes,
Yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
glad that we're partnering with you actually to work
yeah,
through some of
yeah.
these and some of our other partners too. So we're at reInvent, and hopefully you're loving it. I love
Yeah.
this week every year.
The energy is exciting. It's amazing.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's electric for sure. So what are the big announcements that you guys have this week?
We had two big ones. The confidential computing one I mentioned yesterday is sort of a minor announcement. We have the Haiku 3.5 speed SKU. So this is on the back of the Trainium 2 announcement last night. I checked socials this morning. It's going viral. People are incredibly excited.
Yes.
They're like, whoa, there's more players in this market for chips than we thought. And AWS is at the frontier of that, and Anthropic was very honored to have an opportunity to contribute to the design of the Trainium architecture. And so one of the amazing things that's happening here is we have Haiku 3.5, which we are putting on Trainium 2,
Yes.
which is 60% faster than any other platform that you can get it available at.
Holy crap.
I know, it's awesome.
And if you think about that, it's just like Haiku is typically used in a case where you're doing lots of filtering, lots of reaching out to engage with very, very large amounts of content, and
Yes.
you need low cost, high volume. So like logs parsing is something that I'm always excited about as a CISO, right?
Yeah, of course.
Summarization of documents.
Yes.
The kinds of things that you need to sort of like, achieve high volume classification also, like spam filters or things of that nature, trust and safety filters. Haiku is the exact kind of like class of model, and it's the fastest now available on Amazon.
Well,
Yeah.
and 60% makes a huge, like you were saying, some of these things will take days, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we're saving on the order of days.
Amazing,
of
yeah.
getting the stuff
Yeah.
done.
The Trainium 2 architecture is really impressive, yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, and then the second, sorry, you asked me what were the two biggest announcements. Sorry, so Haiku 3.5, and then Project Rainier, which is also the other half of the Trainium announcements last night. So we're moving, we have a new cluster coming online with AWS as a partner, the largest cluster in the world for training AI models, exascale, 5 times larger than any cluster that we've had before.
Wow.
Really impressive achievement from the Amazon teams. It's not just the chips, though. The interconnect, the power distribution, the operationalization, blah, 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 blah.
Opera. Yeah, opera's super important,
Yeah.
I've heard.
Operational
function
yeah.
of the interconnect, connecting all those chips together. All of that's super important, and it's contributing to like one of the most amazing clusters that's ever been built. So we're excited. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Exciting stuff.
That is awesome. So what are you, I mean, on the back of that, what are you most excited about going into 2025?
So, I hinted at this earlier, the agents thing that's going to be happening. Agents are the place where reasoning really starts to make sense, where you want to be able to have an intelligence thinking about a problem from first principles and working through the steps A, B, C, and D to get to the solution that is required to achieve the task. And so as we think about going into the future and what's going to happen in 2025, the idea that you're going to have a worker sort of helping you, like I mentioned that team of interns, imagine a world where you just give a model access to a computer and it does what you ask it to do in the context of using a computer interface. I think all of us are aware that there's been, for a long time, robotic process automation, RPA, or enterprise process automation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Where you're like screen scraping and you're doing all these weird like regexes to try and figure out how to like click around and like legacy user interfaces, or I think about the terrible user interfaces that airlines are still forced to use because they have to interact with that really old mainframe interface. Those are the kinds of things that are like, in an RPA type situation, incredibly useful. But if you turn Claude 3.5 Sonnet V2 today at that problem and just click on things, enter text in the right place, it can already do that. And when we look to the future, when we look to the next round of models, what's going to happen in 2025, I think this like pulling frontier intelligence into really complicated processes that drive an entire workflow that somebody does as a function of their job and freeing them up to do other work.
Yes.
Those are amazing opportunities for us to see an incredible explosion of productivity boosts across enterprises. And AWS is going to be at the frontier because you have the best chips.
I want to double click on something that you said earlier because it's near and dear to my heart, because it really makes the demarcation between like how our kids are growing up and how we think. And the example I like to use is like when I face a problem with another entity, like, making, I don't know, a doctor's appointment, or in my head, because I'm old, I think, oh, there should be an app for that.
Yeah, yeah.
My son, who's 14, does not. He absolutely, he thinks, so there's an AI agent that's going to call the API, dynamically solve the problem ad hoc, and then it's ephemeral and gone.
Yeah.
Because that's how he's thinking about solving problems now.
Absolutely.
And his interface into all of this is through natural language.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, I've been trying to teach this kid to code since he was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, unsuccessfully. But now, like, his relationship to Python doesn't matter. It's different.
Coding is an amazing change that's happening across enterprises. Everywhere, we're hearing reports that upwards of 25% of all code now is being written by large language models in the tech sector.
Wow.
So these are tech companies, and I've heard from Amazon employees that also similar kinds of adoption.
Yeah.
That level of coding change, and to your point, your son's view on what the future looks like here, I see in 2025 huge advancements in the ability for models to write and make effective code, and also make it impossible for us to ship bugs in the first place. I would love to be out of a job as a CISO if software engineers would just stop writing bugs. We would be in a much better world, but I don't think that's going to happen. So what if instead models are looking at the code before we ship it and looking for those vulnerabilities, looking for those flaws, so we're getting to a world where we don't have vulnerabilities in software? That's an amazing opportunity
amazing world.
for customers to adopt. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. Like one of the things I'm most passionate about is the art of shifting left.
Yeah.
Because it's a heck of a lot cheaper to fix a mistake at code inception than in a code review.
Yeah.
So
The latency from the time you press the character to the time you find out you have a bug should be as short as possible.
Yeah.
And if you have your AI agent running in the text editor with you, you get that signal immediately. And I think that's an amazing opportunity for us to have an amazing shift left moment in 2025.
It's huge. I mean, I started my career as an integration and test engineer, actually, and we used to write down all of the test cases, and inevitably, you didn't think of all of them, right? Because you ship it, and you're like, well, we didn't think of that, right? But can you imagine, like, if this thing was just running every possibility, right? Like, that would actually, that would change the world.
I did not know you were that boring.
I was super boring at the start of my career.
Test it
it's like the worst, right?
It is the worst.
Pages and pages and pages of
no
like use
one wants
cases.
to do tests.
No,
Yes.
no.
I started my life as a software engineer, and I have released a number of bugs. So super excited. It's something that is going to fix my mistakes.
Proud of.
I know. I am extremely proud of it. You learn from your mistakes.
That's right. You do. Absolutely.
So did we get any questions on the chat that we want to cover? I don't want to dominate the conversation here.
No, you're not dominating at all. I think this is all interesting. We haven't had anything come through chat, but doesn't mean that it won't be. That's super interesting. You talked about the agents, and the way you see it working in the future is they're going to kind of be an async job that they're going to do. Can you talk a little bit about how you envision that works? Like someone prompts it to do something. How does the user get notified at the end of the day that this async job is gone away?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I think there's a lot of opportunities for people who are adopting AI to make the answer fit their enterprise. So as you think about adopting agents where you work, I gave the example of the airline agent earlier who has to interact with these terrible legacy systems.
Right.
You can imagine a world where they continue to work with a customer verbally while that agent is spending like 10 to 15 minutes rebooking the flight, finding the hotels, and all the things that they have to do very manually right now. You can imagine that. I'm making that up. This is just kind of an example. You can also imagine other alternative environments like, let's say, coding. Let's just use coding because I'm already on that space. Or in my field, security.
Yep.
One of the things that has to happen before something ships is we do a security review. And right now, Anthropic already uses models to do a first pass at the security review. We did a Sonnet 3.5 implementation where we look over the design docs and sort of make a reasoning sort of guess about what's going on there. But what if instead the entire launch review process is automated end to end? Or, well, let me just drill into that, and I'll give you an alternative. So at every point along the way, the best time to have a conversation around security is as early as possible, because that's the easiest and cheapest time to make a design decision change. But there are micro moments throughout that engagement where things change, the design doc gets updated, the code that's checked into the repository might not match the design doc anymore. You can imagine a persistent, ever-present agent that is just shepherding the entire launch of that product all the way from inception to launch, watching the entire process unfold, and catching and providing guidance and letting the security team know if there's something that needs a little help. Those are opportunities for a quote intern level of intelligence to sort of be running in the background, and the notification would probably come through email in that example, I would assume, or on Slack, or whatever the chat platform. But another case here is compliance. Compliance is also going under a revolution in GenAI. Everyone who works in technology is familiar with these compliance questionnaires. You have these hundreds of questions. The answers are often quite rote. On the receiving side, after you get the answers back, you need to go through all of the answers and look for anything that violates your company's expectations. All of this is already being fully automated by agents. And the way that those user interfaces are working out, I've heard anecdotally that there's agents talking to agents now.
Oh my goodness.
On both sides of that conversation. The way that workflow is working out is, you get an email notification that the process has started. You get an email notification that it's finished, and here are the things that need additional human review. So this is, something where you could just have an opportunity to check in after the workflow is completed.
Again, you think about where we started our careers and what we imagined was possible, and where we are now. And I'm amazed about imagining what's next after this.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really important for people to keep in mind is we are on a growth moment.
Yes.
And everything that I can see makes it look like the growth is going to continue. The Perceptron 1957 is the first, quote, AI neural network. And if you plot a line up through that all the way to today, we see like a 4x year-over-year increase in the amount of compute. And we just announced the Trainium 2 cluster is 5 times larger than any cluster that we've ever had before. It's hard to predict the future, but I can predict that there are going to be bigger models, and they're going to do amazing and impressive things that they can't do today. And it's important that as people are thinking about the future and customers are thinking about adopting GenAI on their platforms, they plan for what's coming, not what exists today. If you started your GenAI program today and you were like, well, let's just start with agents because that's what's going on right now. That's what's today. Your program's not going to launch for 6 months. You need to be planning what's going to be 6 months from now, and that's the challenge that all of us in leadership roles need to be thinking about as we're making decisions in the space.
But to be honest, those experiments are cheap. I have my lived-in experience. Generative AI has disrupted even Amazon. How we think about product development, how we think about the future, how we think about roadmap. It has disrupted everything. And it's the new normal. And the tangible benefits, the money, the people, the experience, and the democratization of innovation. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, and on that note, I'll just leave you with a parting thought here. There are so many times when I am thinking about adopting a software platform, and I'm thinking, well, in a year, Claude can just write that. The whole thing from scratch. So, what's the future of that? That we need to be thinking about those things now.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that wraps us up with Anthropic. And Jason, thank you so much for joining us. And Julia, amazing debut.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is like your
heavy lifting for me on this side.
Yeah. It was like your debutante ball, except without the cool dress.
You don't like my dress?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I mean,
it's okay.
I mean, but nobody else can see it.
Q will make a better one next year.
God. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Up next, we have Normal from Rackspace. So stay tuned.
Awesome.